Thank you very much for attending this second webinar on the first day of Enhancing Digital Education in the Mediterranean. Apologies for this short delay. We are under a big storm ongoing at this moment that has affected technical issues. My colleague Lourdes Guàrdia and me will be presenting the second part. And I want to remind you before starting that we have a moment at the end of the presentation for questions and answers, so you can ask your questions in the chat. We'll be collecting that and answer them at the end of the presentations. This second webinar is about digital transformation of higher education institutions. We will present also frameworks and models. The presentation we have organized around 5 main aspects. One of them is the first one, is about what and why we should embark in a digital transformation journey, what it is. The second part is about how we can do it, and we will explore some frameworks that are the most sound in the digital transformation worldwide. The third part will be with what? Just tooling this digital transformation enterprise and big challenge. And for the end, we'll prepare a case study with the Maldives National University, where we've been involved and worked through 3 years. And we will finish with some conclusions. What and why? Digital transformation is not solely about technology or thinking about technology. That's why we wanted to share with you 3 main and most known definitions regarding digital transformation to understand the scope of what it means. It's not about, as I said, about deciding the best technology, the second part that of my presentation, the previous presentation. But digital transformation is the integration of digital technology in all areas of the institution, not only teaching and learning, of course, very important, but in all areas. But because it targets to change how all institutions operate and deliver value to students, faculty, and other stakeholders. Digital transformation, in the definition of Ramadi, a very recent one, published article, speaks of a technological and organizational shift in higher education institution with emerging technologies already available and the new ones. That means digital transformation is not a journey that we end at a certain moment. It's something that we embark and we keep on working on that. And the idea is to deliver high-quality academic services, not only teaching and learning, as I was mentioning, for example, student services, and foster digital skilled students and educators. A third definition that is very sound also defines digital transformation as a series of deep and coordinated culture, workforce, and technology shifts, very ambitious one, that enable new educational and operating models and transform institutions' operation, strategic directions, and value proposition. As we see, this goes far beyond what we can understand adopting a learning management system in an institution. It's about changing the culture and the mindset. And what are the key drivers today? First of all, I like to say that digital transformation is not a plan B, as we can understand. Usually, we hear people, well, during COVID situation, we had to rapidly adapt to online learning, but now we're planning to come back where we were before. Let me say that digital transformation is something that is a reality and is a concern of every higher education institution. It's not an option. It's about how we integrate technologies into our institutions and at what pace and what are our purposes of integrating these technologies. It's not about yes or no, it's about how, particularly. So the key drivers, there are a lot, I will mention a few of them, is the evolving student expectation. They are demanding more flexible, more accessible, more technology-enhanced learning experiences. I remind you what we spoke during more or less 1 hour in the previous webinar. It's about technological advances, these rapid advances that provide new opportunities for innovation in education, as we saw in learning analytics, artificial intelligence, but also in immersive technologies, in extended technologies, in extended reality. There's also a need for rapid adaptation because we actually don't know after the COVID, we don't know what may happen. So the idea is that we have already installed certain capacity to react to some circumstances that may be very disruptive in our institution. And there are many ways in which higher education institution and education in particular may be impacted by external events. And the idea is to guarantee education to all students. It's about also, as driver, improving student experiences and success, enhancing the overall experiences with these technologies. It's about also, we cannot ignore the institutional competitiveness. We are in a global world. We are, in a certain way, competing and cooperating with other institutions. But we have, with digital technologies, access to the whole world in a certain way. So this is something that we have to take into account as a driver, key driver and motivation to embark in the digital transformation. Because it helps institutions to remain competitive and improve also, seeing what others are doing. It's also about financial health. It's improving financial health through more efficient operations. We were talking about how technology may support making more effective and efficient operations at all levels of the institution. And of course, thinking about new revenue streams, new students, new educational offer, new fragmented offer that is more flexible. We can attract more students. It's about also revenue streams. And the idea of also of connecting with the labor market, this pressure that we have to connect better educational outcomes with market needs. And finally, I would say it's more about a societal role fulfillment, how universities are increasingly expected to fulfill a role in the society and provide value to the whole society through the graduates and their research also, of course. What are the challenges? Of course, there's a lot of challenges in these days. Is resistant to change. This is an inner challenge that we may have in our institutions. And this is a big challenge also for leaders in particular. They need to establish a culture of innovation and a mindset of innovation and adoption of new technologies. It's about rethinking education. This context is forcing us to think differently about what we need and what we can offer in our education, particularly redesigning our courses and our programs to fit better expectations coming from our students or the labor market. It's about privacy and security concerns, ensuring protection of students, secure places of information, of sensitive information, of students, teachers, and everyone in the institution. It's about also limited resources, like in any decision, important one, we have to decide what we will do with the limited budget and resources we have, where we will allocate those resources. It's about developing a leadership that is more digitally sensitive, aware of what it means. That's why I celebrate the idea that in these first 2 days, we are targeting teachers and senior leaders and decision makers within institutions. And we thought that, for example, our first presentation, talking about a lot about pedagogy, a lot about new ways of teaching and learning, is important also for a leader who will have to take decisions, knowing the very detail of what it means to teach and learn online, not only stay at the level, administrative level, but also know in detail what it means and provide better support to students and teachers. And also it's about developing the digital literacy of all staff within the institution, of teachers particularly, and students, so they can make a fruitful use of this technology. Opportunities, there are a lot. I will mention 3 here, the ones that we're more keen on. That is about enhancing student learning experiences, empowering a student with interactive, personalized digital learning environments. I come back to our first presentation. It's about increased accessibility and inclusivity. Again, applying universal design for learning principles, thinking about inclusion, thinking about diversity, thinking about equity, how we can guarantee that every student has the chance to succeed in education, and we provide the means for that, accommodating to the specific and individual needs of the students. And it's also, of course, about improving administration, streamlining administrative tasks and workflows to maximize productivity, automating this one, not relying only in human labor-intensive work, but also in what the digital is offering as a solution in order to accelerate those processes and facilitate those processes. So how we do that? As we see, there's a lot of issues that we have to tackle. And let's start by three main points. An overview of digital transformation in action, as we saw it in many examples that we in case studied analyzing, and also in different theoretical and operational solutions that exist to support the digital transformation enterprise. Three main aspects that we'll remind you all along our presentation is, first of all, about understanding digital transformation. This is what we are doing today now. We just started by that, what it means, digital transformation. And we have for that digital frameworks, digital transformation frameworks, approaches that help us define that and adapt that definition to our own context. Second big step is about acknowledging our situation and foreseeing where we want to go, meaning doing some kind of self-assessment that must be participatory, collaboratively, with a good digital leadership that engage all stakeholders in this diagnosis, raising awareness of where is the institution, where it should go. Starting this discussion from the very beginning with all the main stakeholders within and outside the institution. And the third step is about, when we have a clear situation of where we are and where we want to go, it's about start planning and implementing. It's about outlining a digital transformation roadmap and an action plan for that, establishing priorities, establishing milestones, establishing resources, allocating resources. So how should we embark in that? I will focus on some points that are common to every framework, that are common to every initiative we've been seeing that are successful. First of all, is establish a clear vision and goals. Always we start like that. Define the vision, how we articulate a clear vision with the digital transformation that aligns, should align and support already existing mission of the university, and connected with the strategic priorities, and put digital transformation as one strategic priority of this institution. And set what we call smart goals that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. This is very useful way of defining goals. We have to secure leadership and governance. We need the leadership commitment. And when we are talking about leaders, we are not only thinking about the big leader of the institution. Tomorrow you'll have a presentation about leadership and management, and it will go much deeper in these concepts of leadership and distributed leadership. But I think it also teaches leaders of digital transformation. Each one has their role and part to take in the digital transformation of the institution, even students, of course. They have to create an environment where people feel comfortable to engage with the digital transformation and change the institution. And create some governance structures dedicated to digital transformation to oversee the digital transformation process, including steering committees, working groups, or other ways of organizing the institution. I conduct a comprehensive assessment, as I was saying before, analyzing where we are in the state of digitalization and digital transformation, and using benchmarking tools to understand and compare where we are in regards of other institutions, locally, regionally, internationally. Another key point, why should we embark in that? How? Sorry, is to develop a strategic roadmap. We have this roadmap must be allocated, as I mentioned, in resources, objectives, time to digital transformation implementation. Also consider risk management. Of course, that any good project has to outline and have very clear which are the challenges we are facing, and think about corrective measures for that. It's about engaging a stakeholder, I was saying before, all kind of stakeholders in the digital transformation. Involve the students, involve the external partners like enterprise association, professional associations, like commercial associations, like enterprise associations. And it's about also, in this engagement with them, establish a continuous communication with them, just listening what they have to say, what they have to provide to the ideas of a better institution, higher education institution, because every stakeholder is interested in the successful higher education of their countries and regions. And of course, I always said before, invest in technology and infrastructure to make that reliable and possible. Another way is to foster a culture of innovation through this dialogue. There are things that are developed all together. We pointed out it for analytical purposes, but they were all together, these aspects. Foster a culture of innovation through a specific professional development, provide training and support for teachers, students, and staff, and encourage innovation, for example, through projects, rewards teachers, reward students also that want to engage in additional effort that it means to embark in innovation and digital transformation. Always implement and monitor progress of the action plan and celebrate success. I think this is a good also advice in terms of creating a culture of innovation and motivating and engaging people. Celebrate, acknowledge achievement, celebrate milestones and success. Create momentums for that. This is important for the leader. And reflect and improve on what is happening in the continuous implementation of the digital transformation. And a final point here I want to highlight is about case studies and best practices that can inform us and help us think about where we could go. We analyze and study those case studies in detail, and we think about what we can learn from that, lessons learned from that, and can accommodate to our own institution, our own needs. I will mention only two here, very short ones. In the guidebook, we will provide there's more information regarding these case studies, and of course, the links to all the resources where you can read in detail these case studies, these and others. And at the end, I will present one in particular, as I mentioned before, in detail. Case study like the Develop a Strategic Roadmap case study in the Georgia State University that was recently published, but it's about a long period of years in developing this digital transformation. Georgia State University developed a roadmap that including leveraging artificial intelligence to analyze academic data that we spoke before, to identify students at risk. This AI-driven approach could be measurable after that, led to a 21% reduction in summer mail and 3.3 increase in enrollment rates. I just don't put this number just to remember things. It's just that we have to set measurable goals, and then we can measure the success or not of our strategies or our actions. Because the digital transformation journey is also about learning from failure and learning from success, and then correct in that path. There's another example also recently published about a Norwegian multi-campus university, which initiative engaged faculty, staff, and students in digital transformation, upgrading digital systems, the infrastructure, the technology, and providing extensive training with the same importance, not only technology, but how this technology can be used. We need training and development of our stakeholders and the people that will be involved. Measurable also outcomes. It was about 80% of faculty and staff participating in digital skills training, leading to a 25% increase in student engagement in online learning comparing to what was done before. The university also achieved a 30% reduction in administrative processing time and improved inclusivity, making digital resources accessible to all students. I hope all of you have already attended the first webinar. It will make a lot of sense what we are talking right now. Excuse me. So now we're moving with what we will do digital transformation. And I will pass the floor to my colleague Lourdes to explain a little bit, yes, this part. You are muted, Lourdes.
Sorry, okay. So let's start. Thank you. So thank you, Marcelo, for giving me the floor. So as an example, among others, if we have a look at the GISC framework for digital transformation in higher education, we can see that it provides a structured approach for universities to integrate digital technologies across their operations, teaching, and learning. It outlines as you can see, key areas such as leadership, infrastructure, digital skills, and student experience, offering guidance to institutions on developing effective digital strategies. So this framework is useful for higher education digital transformation because it helps universities assess their current digital maturity, identify areas for improvement, and implement changes that enhance student engagement, operational efficiency, and future readiness. And we can also highlight that it supports institutions in creating a cohesive strategic approach to digital adoption, ensuring long-term adaptability and competitiveness using a maturity model toolkit to identify where an organization is at the level it can be emerging, established, or enhanced in relation to each element of the 6 that comprise the framework. And as you can see in the slide, so there are 4 that we are considering that is a core knowledge practice. About organizational digital culture, this is an element that is addressing the values, beliefs, and practices affected by the use of digital technology. So empowers digital culture and leadership. It means that the strategy, planning, and investment focusing on core strategies, administrative structures and processes, effective governance, stakeholder support, and development and engagement. And finally, this element is addressing the organization's digital culture, also determines its approach to issues such as digital safety and well-being, openness, collaboration and equity, diversity, inclusion, and how well it implements and adapts to organizational change. So in this regard, if we go through these 4 elements in more detail, a digital culture and mindset should be promoted through a visionary leadership that can support and drive digital change throughout the organization. And this includes the attitudes, behaviors, beliefs, and practices that shape people's relationship with digital technologies and the ways these transform organizational activities. And also include how stakeholders approach innovation, collaboration, information sharing, and the creation and consumption of digital content and how this can enhance their work and learning. Talking about organizational well-being, that is also relevant, it will be necessary to build, support, and maintain the physical, emotional, and mental health and well-being of all stakeholders, including the impact of living, working, and learning with digital technologies, as well as adopting digital approaches to improve and manage the well-being of individuals. About organizational change, this should be addressed anticipating, managing, and responding to the impact of digital transformation activities, supporting stakeholders to adapt practices, expectations, and attitudes through planned initiatives and activities. And finally, organizational identity, the unique characteristics and qualities that define an organization and distinguish it from others. And also I can say that it includes digital activities that support the promotion of strategic principles and values and how these inform business practices and impact on stakeholders. But the other element is digital physical infrastructure that provides robust and secure infrastructure through relevant expertise and vision, including appropriate investment in networks, system, hardware, software, and digitally equipped physical spaces, and ensuring effective management and standards compliance. So in this regard, a robust digital infrastructure is needed, asking for planning, investing, and maintaining a comprehensive, secure, and reliable system of technology and equipment that supports the efficient operation and growth of an organization. Another element is that digital connectivity has to ensure secure and reliable connections between stakeholders, business processes, and data and networks within the organization, as well as facilitating connectivity with appropriate external networks. But also digital support, providing resources, services, and assistance provided to help stakeholders use digital technology effectively for work, learning, or research is needed. And finally, let me say that estates management, in the sense of planning, development, administration, and maintenance of physical estates that are financially and environmentally sustainable, with buildings that are fit for purpose, for example, ensuring that physical and virtual infrastructure integrates efficiently and effectively to deliver strategic objectives. And what about knowledge creation and innovation? So the element of knowledge creation and innovation is analyzing emerging trends and development across all areas of the organization business to inform policy and development. So enhance knowledge creation and innovation through research and collaborative activities. And let me say that also considers the wider impact on local, regional, national, or international communities. So in this regard, it should be addressed in this element, the digital vision and horizon scanning, looking ahead to anticipate and prepare for the impact of current and future digital trends on the sector and on organizational priorities and activities, enabling senior leaders to gather foresight to inform strategic planning and decision-making. Another issue that should be addressed is research, providing a robust infrastructure to support research, including strategic approaches, appropriate investment in digital systems, environments, processes, and technology, and attracting, enabling, developing, and supporting researchers. And finally, innovation, supporting the development of new ideas and solutions by encouraging creativity, enterprise, and supporting digital leadership. So aligning appropriate innovation with the strategic aspirations, existing practices, legacy systems, and processes, and also wider impact. So ensuring the impact of research and innovation projects are analyzed and appropriately disseminated to different audiences. This element supports knowledge development within the organization to ensure all stakeholders can learn, work, and thrive in the digital environment. So rethinking and enhancing digital learning, teaching, and assessment. So in this regard, should be addressed curriculum development that implies reviewing, planning, and developing a course of study, usually a formal departmental and institutional process map to graduate outcomes, benchmarks, and professional standards, producing a specific documentation. And I can say as example, a course handbook, a schedule, or virtual learning environment materials, and so on. Digital learning is also important because learning takes place through digital devices, so media and environments, or with digital applications. So digital learning may take place live and face-to-face, live online, or through asynchronous resources and environments, and as we mentioned this morning in the first session, and also includes digital learning and development of staff, as well as formal or informal learning of students. In the case of digital teaching, is because teaching through digital devices, media, and environments, or with digital applications is important. So digital teaching may take place live and face-to-face, live online, or by supporting students with a variety of asynchronous resources and environments. Also supporting students with the digital learning skills, as we've seen this morning. And finally, learning experience, because the subjective experience of learning overall, including the total curriculum and non-curricular activities such as private study, learning skills support, library resources, career support, and informal collaborative learning, for example. And here we can also include aspects of emotional and personal well-being. In the case of knowledge management and use, we can say that enhanced access to and use of information and data to support all areas of the organization, not just teaching and learning, including research, enabling the collation, preservation, management, sharing, and use of information and data to inform decision-making. In this regard, we can say, for example, that information management and use, it's relevant This means that practices and procedures around collecting, organizing, storing, and sharing information in a way that allows for efficient retrieve and use. And we can include here the information that created by the organization and the provided by the third parties, I mean. So data management and use is another element. And this is something that we can address the practices and procedures around collecting and organizing, also the things that are related to ethical use, the quality, the governance, the standards, and security and compliance around all forms of data. Also, business intelligence, this is the collection, management, and use of data and information to inform business decision and strategies. It comprises the strategies and technologies used by enterprise for data analysis and management of business information. And finally, decision making, evaluating the evidence and business intelligence to identify options and make choices about all aspects of business, including investment and planning to achieve strategic goals. About knowledge exchange and partnership, this is one of the core elements of the framework, is enhancing knowledge exchange to communicate and disseminate key organizational messages and encourage collaboration and communication participation of all partners and stakeholders. So it should be addressed communication, because it's how the organization uses digital technology and networks to enhance and support communication between stakeholders, as well as disseminating key messages outside the organization. Collaboration, because it's how the organization uses the digital technology to help stakeholders work with others to achieve specific goals. So this includes supportive, secure, and inclusive working and learning practices. Also, community participation should be addressed in terms of encouraging stakeholders to engage with and participate in decision-making processes that affect them, enabling and supporting stakeholders to participate in a wider community activity, so ensuring equitable and inclusive experiences of digital participation. And finally, relationship management is referring to the use of digital technologies to build and maintain positive relationships between stakeholders to ensure engagement, feedback, and involvement as partners, including working, learning, and wider community relationships. Well, I presented till now just an example, GISC, but I also would like to mention another one because there are more, but just to mention these two that we think that are probably the most developed we know. Here we are presenting a framework like EduCos that put the emphasis that digital transformation is that it involves a deep coordinated efforts aimed at institutional transformation in areas such as strategic direction, value proposition, or business model. It is not simply putting courses online or implementing a more modern enterprise system. This is not digital transformation, let me say. So this model helps institutions understand the stages of digital adoption from basic digitization to full digital transformation, guiding them toward meaningful system change. This is why the 3Ds model for digital transformation includes 3 key elements: digitization, digitalization, and digital transformation, like a continuum, as we have seen this morning for online learning. Digitization, for example, involves converting analog information into digital formats, for example, scanning documents or digitizing records and so on. Digitalization refers to the use of digital technologies to improve existing processes, making them more efficient or effective. For example, implementing an online grading system, let me say. Digital transformation is the comprehensive integration of digital technology across all areas, leading to fundamental change in how an institution operates, creates value, and engages with the students and stakeholders. And the framework discusses 7 aspects within each of those 4 areas: digital learning technologies, instructional modality, personal and support services, organizational policies and planning, instructor development, learner development, and partnership. Some colleagues and universities might already be in the middle of these digital transformations, or maybe it's just starting. Digital transformation is an institutional strategy to transform the strategic direction or value proposition of the college or university. This digital transformation involves deep and coordinated shifts in culture, workforce, and technology. So institutions will likely need to have gone through significant digitization and digitalization work for digital transformation efforts to be successful. Just to finish this part, so the EDUCO's digital transformation framework structures the journey into 3 key phases, providing a structured approach to guide institutions through each stage, supporting a comprehensive and sustainable digital transformation journey. And as you can see, we have learn, plan, and do. At this stage, we are situated in the phase of learn as an initial phase that involves building awareness and understanding of digital transformation. So institutions assess current digital capabilities, explore trends, and identify the potential impact of digital transformation on their mission, values, and strategic goals. So next phases plan that will be develop a strategic approach to digital transformation and do that is focused on the implementation will be explained by my colleague Marcelo Maina, and he also will provide a successful case study implemented recently in Maldives National University.
Thank you, Lourdes. Thank you very much. You feel a little bit overwhelmed with all the information about how these frameworks are complex and how they target many, many different areas and operations within an institution. The idea is that the first step is understanding what we are talking about. And this framework offer description that is very comprehensive and very in detail of all what a digital transformation entails. Of course, this is not something that we have to tackle and attack at the same time, and not every institution would need or want to transform their institution at every specific level in a framework. But a framework is like a map, no? It's like a map that is clear where we are. It's like a cartography of the field, so we know where we are and where we want to go. And this is what we are now presenting right now, advancing a little bit on how we do take decisions on that and how would we actually implement that. And we will focus mostly in instruments that exist related to this SHIS framework, the EDUCOS framework, or others. In the guidebook, we will mention some others that I won't go into every instrument that we found important to work with. But now we are moving to the phase of understanding, to acknowledging, and foreseeing digital transformation in higher education, focusing more in self-assessment of what we are doing, where we are. So here we wanted to share with you also what the maturity model, because the SHIS digital transformation framework is quite complete and not only presents a clear and detailed explanation of what it is, but also provide tools and instruments to actually operate in our own reality, contextualizing, prioritizing how we will work with digital transformation in our institution. So together with the framework, there's a model, what they call the maturity model, that outlines 3 levels of digital maturity within our institution. I go through all these aspects and analyzing these aspects within the institution. These 3 levels describe and illustrate the benefits and outcome of advancing, aiding in organizations and identify current maturity stage. So we have 3 stages here that help us also situate what and where we are, and of course, then take decision where I want to go. So we have the immersion and establish, that is what they call a reactive stage, that is for example, a lack of strategic digital leadership or very short-term investment, not thinking in long-term. This is telling us that where we are more in a reactive way, oh, now it comes the learning analytics, so we have to do something. It's more about probably advancing of what is happening, how we will target these challenges. There's a second stage that is more proactive, that is named as established to enhance stage. And here, the proactive means leadership and a key stakeholder within the institution are actually involved already in different initiatives, not all of them, in some of the initiatives that are that deal with digital transformation. And they are, for example, thinking about already implementing a blended approach together with a face-to-face dominant modality within their institutions. They make efforts in integrating system and operation, for example, more digitally coordinated. And then we have a third stage that enhance to mature, where you probably should have to focus on as a wish place where we want to be. That means an integrated stage, where already different initiatives for digital transformation are already implemented and working well. This is a tool that is structured according to the digital transformation framework, so we can back and forth in order to understand what it means, each part of the stage and each area or sector I'm targeting. There's another tool, very interesting tool about diagnosing and prospection of the institution that covers not only digital transformation, but for example, makes a lot of emphasis in leadership and governance. That is the Higher Education Innovate self-assessment tool with all these dimensions that you see, and it's available online. It was developed by the European Commission in partnership with the OECD, and it helps identify areas for improvement in terms of innovation, digital transformation, entrepreneurship, and other related concepts that were all together. When we get into this tool, we have self-assessment questionnaires that we can answer and help us take decisions. All these tools are thought to be used collaboratively with a group of different stakeholders. This is the best recommendation we can do, and they do also when using these tools. I'm coming back to another example of how we can make this diagnosis of our situation and plan for the future, take decisions about the future. Is the EduCost digital journey that Lourdes was mentioning a few minutes ago, is the second bar about planning. It's about assessing institution capabilities, setting goals, developing a roadmap, and engaging with the stakeholder. And there are three main steps that consider this part, that is assessing and readiness, leading a conversation, and developing a digital transformation strategy. This is associated with other tools that will help us, for example, understand the readiness of our institution in terms of digital maturity. As you see, it's provided with tools that will help us operationalize that and take decisions. And finally, once we have made a good diagnosis and we know where we want to go, we have a clear vision of our institution, we want to apply some of the concepts. For example, let's think about the first part of our presentation today, our first webinar, about we want to encourage universal design for learning and provide access to all people and provide equal opportunities. This is a very, very important driver of the digital transformation, what it means in terms of a strategic roadmap. Again, there's this SHIFT toolkit that is organized around the framework, conceptual, the maturity model, helping me identify key areas and establish where we are, and this template that helps operationalize this digital maturity model in order to take decision and document this decision. It is designed, as it says, this tool to for collaboration and use probably online. This is suggested by the GIX people. But it can be also, of course, customized. That's why it's a Word document template that we can adapt to our specific needs of each organization. The table had blank spaces to fill in and as the action progress. So we can track also what we are doing with this problem. There's a drop-down list that are used to track maturity level, progress, and priority. So it's a very useful tool. Sometimes we don't see the importance that have these tools that are well-founded in a concept that is clearly explained. And coming back to EduCost, we're showing different alternatives. Of course, we can follow one, two, or make a combination of that, or use other tools to help us operationalize the digital transformation. And the do part, that is the final part related to the digital transformation journey of EduCause, involves putting the plan into action by launching a strategic initiative. Focuses on making institutions more flexible, usually related to DT, responsive and resilient, and includes evaluating the impact of the initiative, always evaluating is very important, and adjusting as the course is needed, because we plan, always we plan, we project, but then if we monitor and evaluate in a continuous approach of evaluation and monitoring, probably there are corrective measures we can introduce, and it's usually the case. There are three main steps: assessing the progress, planning next step, in learning from others. Again, learning from others is quite important. To sum up, we come back to our first three main steps in digital transformation in action: understanding through, for example, understanding frameworks and approaches like LGs, EduCause, or others; acknowledging and foreseeing that making a self-assessment, guided self-assessment coherent with the kind of framework we can adopt and adapt to our context. I think I insist in this idea of using frameworks because they are, as I said before, a map that we won't be lost if we always have this reference where we can situate ourselves all the time for monitoring, for example, and planning and implementing through the development of additional roadmap and an action plan. As we see here in this graphic, monitoring and adjusting is something continuous. We don't think that we pass from one step to the other. There are clear understandings that come later, probably, and consciousness and awareness about the importance of one aspect mentioned in the framework did not emerge at the very beginning, but it comes later. So always work with that interactively. So let's go now to a case study to illustrate what we've been talking up to now. It's a case study of the Maldives National University, a face-to-face university that had some initial experiences with some blended courses that wanted to actually transform the institution in a more bimodal university. So my presentation is around the project, how we embark into a journey of towards the bimodality of the institution, the integrated approach that we chose, that was very synchronized development, very participatory, very workshop-based, very meeting and discussion-based, always with all the stakeholders. The development of a priority of training of senior leaders and teachers within the institution. We'll see some ideas about the pilot and some ideas of the pilot overview and conclusions, and the impact and sustainability of the effort that was invested during 3 years. So let me talk about a little bit about this project that was first fostered by the idea of providing more inclusive education to all people in Maldives. As you see, I just outline a map here around how many islands there are. Not all are inhabited, but there are many islands that are inhabited, and the access to higher education is a big challenge, and they want to guarantee access to higher education to all citizens in the country. And there's a commitment also with the government of higher education to foster a development within the country itself. So the idea of the project was to support the modernization of and accessibility of higher education, the promotion of new forms of teaching and learning, all of that we've been talking before. The establishment of an institutional framework for blended learning, very important, starting by defining writing policies, communicating, and the co-creation, I mean here, co-creation of and piloting of a study program for professional development. We participated, of course, the beneficiary was the Maldives National University, and we work in coordination, our university, Universitat Oberta de Catalunya, with 2 institutions in Croatia, that is the Faculty of Informatics and the Carnet Research Association. So it's the last year. As we have to predicate with example, as we mentioned before, thinking about modalities, thinking about models, we knew that the modality we wanted to implement and foster was face-to-face to blended learning. But then what kind of blended learning? What kind of model will we use for blended learning? Because we know that blended learning is not only, as we thought at the very beginning, the right combination between online and face-to-face. It's much more than that. That's why we adopted a more sound definition of blended learning, that is that of active blended learning, that thinks blended learning also in terms of synchronicity, participation forms, activity types, guidance levels, technology use, learning spaces, and assessment methods to create a comprehensive and flexible learning environment. Each word has an impact on the decision we have to take regarding what we are doing as a digital transformation, how it impacts operations, technologies, teacher and professional developments, improvement of learning outcomes. Everything has an impact. Because ABL engages the student in active learning, very important principle, through doing and thinking with the activities. It's not content focused, it's not technology focused, it's about active learning. It's about sense-making activities. It's about support from teachers and the focused interaction that, with content peers and tutors. Use of context-sensitive, what we call scaffolds, at the right moment, fostering self-regulation and autonomy, the student's prior knowledge, a better experience for each individual according to their needs, promoting higher education order thinking, that, like I mentioned here, one of them, analysis, synthesis, evaluation, and others. Encouraging collaboration and teamwork, and development of essential skills like problem solving and critical thinking. As you see, we're just trying to develop the concept of blended learning, which is our model. In the modality we presented in our first seminar of blended, adopted blended in a bit of modality university, we were also positioning ourselves of what we understood by blended learning. Very important. And in terms of the full strategy that we implemented in the project of digital transformation, we have mapped against the EduCost model, which are the main areas and how we were intervening in each of them. All of them must work more or less coordinated. It's a big challenge because if some of them do not work in coherence and align, we have problems. So as you see here, all the elements of this conceptual model integrates instructional modality, learner development, personal and support services, digital learning technologies at the center as supporting all the other activities, organizational policies and plannings, instructor development, and partnerships. Just in a nutshell, very rapidly. Learner development and instructor development were one of the priorities, but of course, we were talking about digital learning technologies capacity installation. So we had also an objective of improving the capacity of the technology. We were thinking about, as I mentioned before, the blending modality in a specific way. We were thinking about active learning, blended learning. We were thinking about what it was required in order to implement this technology and this approach, not only in terms of teaching and learning, but also, for example, in IT staff, where we developed workshops specific to the upgrade of the technology and the training of the staff. And of course, very, very important since the very beginning, the support of institution at the higher level. To develop a participatory policy and digital roadmap. We divided our full strategy of 3 years in 3 main phases, like inception phase, about the needs analysis and preparation, the situational analysis of where we were, and of course, listening what was happening there and what they have to say about that. What was their readiness, for example, for adopting technology. Then the development phase, that was more about participatory discussion for the development of a framework for a blended learning, having a policy supporting everything and senior level support for every action, equipping the university and training. And of course, the implementation phase of the pilot, that I will focus now, but of course, there's the implementation of the technology that it was took part also in the project. The essential phase, the needs analysis, we did a situational analysis, analyzing current practices, the previous practices already in the institution, and interrogating and discussing with key stakeholders about our organizational also and legal aspects, even frameworks or documents existing there. We analyze success stories in medieval, in EU, in the world, adopting blended learning, and we wanted a lot of input from the key stakeholders. When we had our kickoff meeting in Maldives, we were not only thinking about the beautiful place and the islands and the sea. We had a very intensive week of work in Maldives with a very committed partner. Let's say it's important to mention that the success of the project relies a lot in the senior level engagement and the enthusiasm of the institution in that. Of course, there's always a group of people that drives this enthusiasm, and then we have to convince the other and seduce the other in order to embark in the digital transformation journey. But for example, in our first analysis, deep one, we did a questionnaire for students and teachers about readiness to the adoption of digital learning. We had a focus group, the kickoff meeting with lecturers to get more insights regarding their reality, where they are, where the expectation, their requirements. We did also some interviews with different stakeholders within the institution, like the quality manager, like the vice president, like some deans, like the responsible for student services, to have a big picture of the situation at that moment. And of course, a key actor here was the SETE Center, that is the Center for Teaching and Learning of Maldives National University, already in place and very empowered after this project also, because they knew and they work what teachers are needed and students, and they were already working with teachers in terms of digital initiatives. The development phase, as I was mentioning, was about equipment, was about developing the policy and establishing the roadmap. How we did it? Big challenge, because here we have to adapt methodologies to the reality and our context. What we created is a sui generis, let's say, shadowing technique, where 17 staff from Maldives National University, covering senior level, IT, teachers, and teacher support, came 1 week to our university in Barcelona. And we are a fully online university with this now 30 years of experience, and trying to through this shadowing, like probably know about the shadowing technique, observing what the others are doing, capturing what probably be useful for you. We organized through 3 main activities that we call Get Ready. That was prior to their visit. We started working online with them. That consisted in the familiarization prior to the visit with different areas and services of the work. We provided a lot of information, documents, and access to these documents to study that. And then we organized 11 sessions face-to-face in Barcelona with all these people that we call that the takeaway sessions. We use Google Drive. We share with them documents based on already structuring the presentation of different and key information from the institution and taking what was useful for them for later discussion. And the third activity that we started developing the roadmap was the roadmap and the action plan. That it was a full session with all partners where we discussed the takeaways, established developing a roadmap and key action. Of course, we didn't complete the roadmap in those hours. We keep on working on that in workshop, but it was a big start point, very useful strategy that we applied, taking advantage of this, as you see, face-to-face moment of meetings in the project for work. And the development phase, I will focus now on the study program because it was key for our approach, developing the capacities and the skills of teachers and senior levels, and making aware of what it means, blended learning, and how we can implement it. And then we embarked to be quite sensitive with the context in an 8-month co-creation of the program with regular online meetings and a distributed design where we allocated for the 4 modules that were developed, a leader, a co-leader, and then peer reviewers, always contrasting with the reality in place. We were from Spain, Croatia, but it was applied in Maldives. So it was very important, their commitment to in every step. And that we work in this study program, also applying the principles of this active blended learning, some of them, to that, so we could also at the same time familiarize teachers and senior leaders what it means to embark in this kind of online learning. It was more hands-on activities of current practice and concern. It was a course that was scaffolded through different resources like templates and, of course, by teachers. We developed a strategy for autonomy and empowerment through active participation, self-reflection, regulation, peer review and peer assessment of the productions. We decided to create a digital handbook on blended learning that was co-created with partners, available online, as we thought that writing a document would be outdated in a few years. So the idea was to create something that would rest there and could be updated all the time, that was organized around the 4 modules. And we did a learner-centered approach, an activity-driven course, fully online and cohort-based, supported. The program consisted in 4 modules with 2 paths. One path, was for the senior leader level. That was module 1 and module 2 about leadership and learning. Module 1 was common to everyone, also for teachers that also had to take module 3 about designing learning in the digital, and module 4 about the networking teacher, how to teach online, a strategy for that. Very important part of the design was the capstone projects. Every learning path finished with a capstone project based on a template, where we encouraged to develop a blueprint, in the case of the senior leader, a blueprint on how they would develop an action within their, for example, there were deans taking this course, how they would implement and foster blended learning into their faculty, for example, which priorities, how we would do it. And the blueprint of the teacher was more about how they will redesign their courses or design these courses from scratch if they were embarking in more blended learning approach. So as you see, the results were very applied that. So the investment in time in this study program was only about incorporating new concepts and a view, but it was applying that view. It was quite ambitious, because the idea was that after that could be implemented all these blueprints that were projects of courses and on strategies within the university could be actually implemented, because they were discussed with others, they were recent, and there was a room in the study program for that. We trained 45 lecturers, the first one, and 7 decision makers, and we had a lot of facilitators. These are different roles, coordinators and facilitators. There were not 16. There were 10 in total, but some of them were coordinators also of modules and in a fruitful dialogue with other facilitators and the students. And facilitators were coming from the SETE, but they are responsible for the Center for Teaching and Learning, who are responsible for teacher development in the institution. So at the same time, we'll be working with them. For that evaluation, I mentioned before, we have to have some clues about what is happening, how is it doing. We adopted the Kirkpatrick model. Of course, we couldn't arrive to the results phase because it's a long-term analysis. But fortunately, we will start next month a new project that is a follow-up of this one, and it's a capacity build that also engage universities in Sri Lanka, not only Maldives and Malaysia, applying what we have learned from that and moving forward, focus more on learning analytics, but this is a detail of another project. So the idea is to evaluate that through how participants reacted to this study program in terms of satisfaction, engagement, and relevance, and perceive the learning gains and skills that they had during this project, giving us some clues about the future of the project and the actual impact within the institution. Of course, we run, as any research approach, surveys, interviews, focus group, and analyze the participant productions, particularly the capstone projects, and how the blueprints were already ready for implementation in courses or at the level, for example, of a dean. We have some statistics regarding, in general, from decision makers and teachers about the quality, the assessment that was done with the study program, the support provided, and the relevance for their work. Why was that important for us? Because we wanted to evaluate the study program in order to adapt it, improve it, and leave it there for future implementation with more teachers and more senior level. This is the idea of sustainability. It is very important to always think about also the afterlife of the project, that we needed to guarantee in a certain way. We have some testimonies from, for example, a lecturer. I'm very satisfied as I was able to blend my course. This is interesting. We're very happy reading that and also seeing their blueprint. The capstone project is my plan for the next semester. We always start seeing that there's an impact of the course, not just as knowing something, but applying something and giving through this investment on time something that can be applied. This is a decision maker level. Once the capstone project was developed, it made so much sense because we applied what we learned to our context. Okay, he realized that makes sense. The custom project we wanted. This is what we were looking for as a reaction from our participants. And from the SETE facilitator, this group that has a key role in implementation of that, is that the custom project allow participants to bring it all together, all the content together. It was more conceptual and applied, what they have learned and what they think to get this going on the future. So some reflections. What we learned from this digital transformation journey, because we already have to think about what we can apply later on what didn't work. Thorough needs analysis during the kickoff meeting and later. Participatory multi-level policy development and roadmap development. IT capacity installation. Without an IT capacity installation, of course, the digital won't work. The co-design process of the teacher development. We didn't want to have a very general, but a more focus on actual needs and context, a sensitive development of the course. The pilot that was coordinated and the program that was facilitated by members of the SETE, also helping indirectly to their own professional development, installing capacity for future iterations. Of course, we did a follow-up evaluation, and we gained lessons about improving the program itself. So, very promising project. We have ideas about the installed capacity, the sustainability, and the potential growth. And the promise is based on clear orientation and institution decision, the policy and actionable blended learning roadmap, the advanced setup infrastructure that included not only the learning management system upgrading, but also the facilities, for example, for recording videos or producing learning materials, digital learning materials. The custom project that gave us a real sense that things will happen after the project ends, all these blueprints that will be implemented, producing change within the institution and spreading the word to others within the institution. And a sustainable and replicable training program adapted and improved for future implementation. So we arrived to the conclusions in terms of the digital transformation. 4 key points that we want you to remember about vision and leadership. We have to develop a clear vision and strong leadership to drive and sustain transformation. We have to work collaboratively and communicate all the time, promoting this collaboration and communication among all the stakeholders, ensuring their willingness to participate, the comfort to participate, providing safe environment for discussion and critique, training and support, providing enough training to all staff, including students, and evaluation and adaptation, continually evaluating the effectiveness of the actions we are implementing. We don't need to wait until the end. We have to establish key points, crucial points within the process of digital transformation and see how they are doing. So I want to finish with this citation from John O'Brien, that is president and CEO of Educos. Very sound situation that summarizes everything. And my best advice for a college or university with digital transformation ambitions is to recognize that the path to digital transformation is a journey and needs to be recognized as such, a journey, not an endpoint, something I will finish tomorrow. More than just a metaphor, this approach means that you need to assess where you are realistically. Not big expectation, then we're frustrated. Plan for the trip, begin with the end in mind, and start the journey with a view toward flexibility and an expectation that it may not be a straight path, meaning we may find problems for sure. And then we have to have corrective measures, and we don't have to anguish that we need to introduce corrective measures. We cannot pre-plan everything in detail, and the world will work as we planned. We all know that. But it's good that he remembers to all of us those ideas. So last question, when? Well, say it right now, okay? Digital measures start right now. So start step by step, with short steps, with realistic ambitions, but we do not postpone the digital transformation journey, as it's not a plan B I was mentioning at the very beginning. It's plan A. So thank you very much. And then I'm here with my colleague Lourdes to answer some questions. I will check the questions that are already sent to us. I don't know, Lourdes, if you could identify in the meantime some of them. I see that they are being answered, a lot of them already.
Yeah, sure, Marcelo. So thanks a lot for this inspirational case study. I've been part also of this experience, and that was very exciting. So let me start with some answers, and then I give you the floor if you want.
Okay.
There's one question that about if it's possible to organize training for different roles in online education in the Mediterranean countries, mix using blended and learning mode. I could say yes, sure. I'm sure that after this cycle of webinars, the Union for Mediterranean and Work can study this option. Also, I would like to say that there are capacity building programs caused by the European Union that can support projects proposal that will address this need. The case study of Maldives National University was funded by the EU, for example, and we've also been involved in other capacity buildings projects funded by the EU around the world, in Africa, in Latin America. So I think the doors are open, and we have different possibilities to address this question. There is another one that is about, in light of the increasing integration of AI in online education, what emerging trends do you foresee that could significantly enhance personalized learning and student engagement in the Mediterranean context? So this is something that should be addressed, let me say, in collaboration with higher education institutions. In this sense, the European Association of Distant Teaching Universities, EDTU, is leading a project funded by the EU about the use of AI in education with 10 more partners, higher education institutions mainly, and the results will be shared to all higher education communities. So it's just to give an example of what we can do. There is another question about the best techniques to engage the stakeholders in such projects. It's a very good question. So education institutions should work together with all stakeholders if we want to provide meaningful education. If the labor market is not connected to the university in terms of curriculum, competencies, internships, practices, and so internship practices, and so on, then our graduates are not ready and not very well valued by employers. We should provide transparency related to the assessment to make visible how our graduates are ready for the labor market to act immediately when they are finishing their studies. If we are able to show the benefits of all these issues, then stakeholders can be more engaged and enthusiastic for participation in this kind of projects. We have an example of a very successful project in Africa that it's called EPICA, that implied the employers regarding their expectations about the graduates to be more employable when they finish the university studies. So this is an example that it can be so, but we need to show that we can work together and the mutual benefits we can reach. It is another question about how can digital transformation really assure an inclusive education environment. So with the use of technology, we can provide a more personalized training, adapting learning resources for those who have special needs or disabilities, or also we can provide a diversity of resources to attend different learning styles or approaches for learning. As I mentioned this morning, we can provide training remotely for people that are living far away. The Maldives National University case study is one of the examples. So there are many people distributed around in different islands, and to transform the traditional university was something that was really relevant for them. And or, for example, if we have students that have family responsibilities, different socioeconomic levels and backgrounds, we think if we are addressing all these issues, we are providing more inclusivity. So I think it's an opportunity to democratize education in the sense that we provide education to everybody. There is another question about the importance of leveraging learning analytics in online education. For instance, institutions that use data to track students' engagement can identify at-risk learners early and tailor interventions accordingly. This proactive approach not only enhances student outcomes, but also fosters a more personalized learning experience. I think this is a very good statement. Yeah, sure. So we have examples of that. At work, for example, we've been developing for the last 4 years a project that is addressing predictive analytics using learning analytics and AI combined to prevent dropout as soon as possible. We tested this project with more than 5,000 students from different disciplines. We also are experimenting with how to personalize feedback, providing a rubric for our teachers. They assess the output delivered by the student, put a mark, elaborates prompts, asking the AI to propose a detailed feedback report, giving recommendations to the students based on the learning resources provided for the specific course. So this is another way that we can provide this personalization. And let me say that for a large number of students, AI is very useful because it saves time to teachers, but it not replace, because this mediation I mentioned is needed to assure an accurate feedback. There is another question regarding Bloom's taxonomy in directing questions of level thinking. If we have a taxonomy related to AI, yes, there is one that you can find. My colleagues will share the link through the chat. Let me say that large language models and AI tools such as ChatGPT and Gemini use Bloom's taxonomy as one of the most significant influences on how critical thinking is defined in this article. You can find, there is one Times Higher Education article that they are exploring the challenge of integrating AI into teaching, learning, and assessment, while Bloom's taxonomy is a significant part of its training model. Let's go. There are other questions. A question arises from the real situation when many students and staff are not trained to use digital technologies. A choice should be made in investing in new students and staff or training the existing students and staff. I believe that it needs more reflection and vision, especially for large institutions. Can the lectures of this seminar help us in this aspect? Yes, sure. Let's talk about it. So we have a lot of experience in providing training about digital literacy for teachers and students since our university was created. So in fact, we have one of the subjects we are offering in our bachelor's, for example, is a transversal subject that is taken by our students to develop the digital competence, for example. There is another question about if we have practical tips that are specific to the project management. Yes, we will provide it through the guidebook, as I mentioned, and also email us if you need to clarify something. But I'm sure that at the end of the cycle of these webinars and with the guide, you will have many tips and ideas for starting. Okay, so I don't know. Lourdes, I give you the floor if you want, because we have.
I think, Lourdes, we should mention for that question also that tomorrow we have a dedicated webinar to leadership and management in DT, in digital transformation. Probably all those tips will be presented in details. There are not many other questions, but there are some interesting ones that I see here about what was the major challenge when implementing the project. I think it's talking about our AMED project. If you remember, Lourdes, at the very beginning of the project, we had a drastic change in authorities in the institution. So we were like, wow, everything is in place now to start. And what will happen now with the change at the director level and the directors and now? Well, it worked very well because there was a lot of a community there engaged with that. there was a consciousness about the need for digital change. So the new authorities were already sensitive to that. There was new discussion regarding and informing about this project in particular, and how many people from within the institution were already committed, and how external people were committed, and how external funding also was being provided. But it was a moment where we said, well, decision makers at high level may decide not to continue. Why not? They have a different approach. No. So what is interesting also to think as a lesson is that big decisions shouldn't depend only on the group of people that is leading in a certain moment. Universities should have an strategic roadmap very clear, and every new leader would adhere to that and committed to do that. So I think this was the case. There was a strong and committed group of senior leaders. There was a movement of change because the project took time to start, and then this big commitment from the institution with a clear vision already discussed and agreed help us implement that. That was a big challenge. Big challenge, probably not big, but less challenges. We are working, at a distance and online, but a very structured. We apply our principles of how to scaffold learning to the organization of meetings. In that, we learn that all the principles we apply for education can be applied also to manage these kind of projects in terms of how to engage people in the project, how to be clear, how to provide scaffold methodological resources for each meeting, to be clear and concise, where we are going, what we need to do, establishing specific deadlines, having regular meetings online. So this 8-month co-creation was a big challenge, but it worked very well. And a distributed approach, as I mentioned before, having a leader for each model. Once we have arrived to a consensus of the main topics and learning outcomes that we had to develop in the program, we just distributed that into 4 models with 2 learning paths, and we started designing the study program. And then what we did is a distributed co-design approach with different responsibilities. As I said, a leader, a co-leader, and reviewers. And we have some checklists of what are we reviewing, what is interesting for us. And of course, there's also meetings that we could organize as needed. So this is continuous communication and collaboration help on that. There's another about how did the institution, the Maldivian institution, adapt the process to their needs and context. First of all, following a little bit what we mentioned before, understand, self-assess, and plan. This was the main strategy we followed, as we mentioned in three steps. Really understanding your situation and where you want to go. There's a strong commitment towards inclusivity. There's a strong commitment toward the society and the development of the society, and they have already identified some programs that would benefit from a blended learning approach. We discussed about that, it emerges. There are some professions that require more than others, more people capacitated. There was a need, social need for these professional profiles. So in order to increase there was area. There was also a gender small gap that also we were facing, and we also encouraged that through under that lens. I think it was about prioritizing programs in particular and courses, and rethinking about new educational offer also. Let me see if there are another one. Some of them are very long. I have to read them and see. Here it mentions the idea of quality as a concept, also very important, and also an input in order to organize a digital transformation, a successful one, responsible, and with quality. So tomorrow we have a second webinar dedicated to quality in higher education. There will be 2 webinars dedicated to quality. First will be tomorrow in a more macro and meso level of quality in higher education. And then in December, that we will focus more on courses, teachers, and teacher and learning. There will be more a more focus on courses and quality dedicated to that. But of course, I said, what do you think? This is the question. I think, and I completely agree with you, that having these quality frameworks and standards are an important input when designing a digital transformation journey, and informs us how to do it correctly, and aligning also with the shared standards in a specific region, country, or a specific situation. I don't know, Lourdes, if you see any. There are many specifics one that I don't know if to address directly here, because it will be more as an opinion about, for example, programs in robotics and coding to help a student familiarize with AI. The first answer would be yes, but the second one is that since we have generative AI, not necessarily coding is one of the main skills that we need. Although thinking, computational thinking is very useful in order to understand this world of AI in a deeper way. So it depends, but I think, of course, everything adds. But generative AI now is more user-friendly, and we have to understand, yes, algorithm, but probably not necessarily program algorithm. Not everyone should have to learn about that. I'm not sure if I change my mind in the future, but of course, the more you know about something, the better. But of course, we cannot know everything in detail in every aspect of any discipline. So we have to think about probably basics of that. I know because we have a program for primary school teachers, and we are working on the digital part of this program, and we for sure introduce computational thinking and robotics as part of the professional training of teachers. I think we have covered, Lourdes, most of the question. I'm sorry, there's one question I actually don't understand very well, so I'm just guessing. And
Yes, I think almost we answer everything, and I'm sure that tomorrow, with the 2 sessions we have, we can address some of them again.
we have to thank that they've been here until now. We know that being online is not an easy thing, and listening and taking notes. I hope you were taking notes. As this is an active listening to keep record of that. Of course, we will share the guidebook with that and the webinars and things that will be accessible. So we wait for you tomorrow. Lourdes, we can close with that. We have these 2 sessions. One started at 9, like today. It's about leadership and management with some other colleagues. You will only hear us at the very end of the 2 webinars. So we'll have the chance to meet other people from our institution, and we have also one, as I mentioned, in quality in higher education, started at 11, like today, the second session at 11 till 12:30, from other colleagues also from other institution, and we will see you for final remarks tomorrow to end the first block of Monday and Tuesday. So thank you very much for being here. I don't know if you have anything to add, Lourdes. If not, we will just tell them that we wait for them tomorrow. Be patient, come with a notebook, and please take note, because this is helping in this active listening and writing down help a lot in terms of fixing information. This is a good intellectual technique that we have to apply as we teach our students to do.